Hello everybody and welcome back to Cooking with Grandma. And hooray, hooray, I got my oven fixed. I can bake again. So what we're going to have for tonight is some chicken stew. It's a little bit thicker. You can call it chicken soup, as Rachel Ray does. It's thicker than a soup, but thinner than a stew. I'm going to make it kind of thick. I've got chicken legs cooking in my pan here. You can use any cut of chicken you want. This is just what I happen to grab out of the freezer. When they're all cooked, I take them out of the pan and cut off the meat off the bone and put it back in. And there's carrots and celery in there. So when it's all done, I'm going to add, in a little bit, I'm going to add a couple of potatoes in there, because we're not going to have chicken noodle soup. This is stew, so the starch from the potatoes will thicken it up a little bit. And I'm going to keep that simmering and cooking and get it going, have that going for our supper. And for dessert, we're going to have angel pillows. Now, I've had this recipe before, but never made it, so we're going to try it. And I'm going to see how this works out. So I'm going to get my bowl here ready. So now this recipe calls for half a cup of butter flavored Crisco. Now, I am not baking with Crisco. It is too greasy and too ick. You know, it's lard. It's not good. So I'm going to substitute it for half a cup of butter, which is fine. You can do that. So in the pan, in the bowl goes a half a cup of butter. I don't know why you'd want to cook with Crisco. For pie crust, it's good. Apparently for buttercream frosting, it's good for when you make it, but when I took a course at Michael's, they wanted us to use Crisco for the buttercream frosting. I just make it with the frosting sugar and butter and milk. Now I don't do the lard. Okay, so to this, now I've already got my preheated oven, and I've already covered my baking tins with parchment paper. It says to grease them, but again, if you have parchment paper, that's just step less that you have to do. And then your pans are easy to clean up. So we set that aside. Now we can put a half a cup of the butter. Now it's a third of a cup, or 3 ounces, which is, you know, a chunk. If you buy cream cheese, buy the brick. 3 ounces. It comes in an 8-ounce brick. So just eyeball it and cut what looks like a third, but 3 ounces off. We're going to put that in the bowl. And it's softened, so I'm just going to break it up, and it's very, very soft. I took it out of the fridge ahead of time. So to that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of milk, and then we're going to just blend this up real nice and creamy. There we are. Oh, let's get that all blended in there. And because the butter is soft and the cream cheese is soft, I don't need to use the mixer. It says to beat it with the mixer until everything's creamy and soft, but because I've got soft butter and soft cream cheese, that step is not necessary. Just take your wooden spoon and give it a good stir. And plus the milk helps it cream it up a little bit too. You can see right there how nice and easy that is to make creamy. You don't want any chunks of butter or cream cheese. You want it to mix in. There's other things to mix, so as you're mixing, if there is a little bit of a chunk, it'll get mixed in. But you want it nice and smooth. Well, there we go. Now to that, now we're going to beat in 1/4 of a cup of firmly packed brown sugar and preserves. Now it calls for apricot. Again, with these kind of recipes, you can use any kind of preserves or jam you like. I don't have apricot, I have raspberry, so that's what we're using. It will change up the flavor of the cookie a little. Apricots taste a lot different than raspberries, obviously, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt this. Those are the kind of things that you can switch out when you're making cookies. So we're going to beat in the brown sugar, the preserves, in that, and then we're going to, this is one of those things where you kind of have like 2 bowls going on, because I have to combine my flour and stuff in another bowl. So there we got the cream cheese, the butter, brown sugar, milk, and the jam. I don't know, I guess this is the way you make them on the cookie sheet. You mind them up, it says to do, and I guess that's why they call them pillows. So to this bowl, now I'm going to add in, we have to combine the flour, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. So it's 1½ cups of flour, and all these recipes will be in the description box below, so you can copy that recipe if you like. by all means, copy it. Have at it. Let me know how you liked it. If you tried it, if it was easy for you, what you thought of the taste. So there's 1.5. What is it? 1.5? Yep, 1.5 cups of flour. 1.5. All right. And oh, look what I did. Instead of putting it in the empty bowl, because you're supposed to combine the flour and this, I just put it right in. Well, all right. Hopefully that won't mess up the cookies. We were supposed to combine the flour, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt, and then add it to the mixture. And instead, I poured the flour right on in there. Okay, so we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Seeing that I didn't mix that separately, I'm just going to go ahead and keep putting all my dry ingredients in there. 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder goes in. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. It was just easier to mix, I think. And cinnamon is 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1.5. Flour, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, which is about that much. Drop that in. You get to know after a while. You just shake it in your hand. You get to know how much is half and a full teaspoonful. The first few times I did it, I shook it into my hand and I measured it just to make sure. And you know, you can get it right. So now we're going to mix this all up. There's not a lot of liquid, just that one little bit of 1 tablespoon of milk ahead of time. But I guess because of the jam, it's making them, they mixed up really well. Okay, kind of a weird, I hope that because you picked that up, it's kind of a salmon-y color, I guess because of the preserves and the white of the flour and the cheese, and then the red of the jam. So it's kind of a pinky color. So there'll be pink angel cushion, angel pillows. That's probably why it says apricots, because apricots are yellow, so it wouldn't do that. Okay. And then it calls for a cup, half a cup of chopped pecans. I'm using walnuts because that's what I have on hand. And again, it's one of those substitutions that it's okay. You can leave out the nuts altogether if you have allergies in your house or you want to send them to school with the kids and you can't send cookies or any desserts with nuts in them. But because we don't have any allergies, and I just won't send these to school with Dinah Brody. Here we go. There. That was pretty simple. So what we do now is we drop 2 level measuring tablespoonfuls of dough into a mound to form each cookies. That's a lot. That sounds like a big cookie. I might have to knock that down a little bit because if that's the case, we're not going to get very many cookies. So 2 level measuring tablespoons full of dough. Let's see. All right, level. There's 1 level tablespoonful, and there's 2. And then you mound it up on your, well, they're not that bad, not that big. I guess if you wanted to get more out of your cookies, you know, you can make them a bit smaller. So 2 level measuring tablespoons of dough into a mound to form each cookie. Place 2 inches apart, so they might spread a little. So we're going to do another level tablespoon and make it into a big mound. I'm going to do, because I've never done these before, so I'm not going to put 3 in a row like they usually call for. I'm going to put 2. It's going to be less on the cookie sheet, but until I find out how they spread and how they cook, I'll do bake off one cookie sheet while I'm filling in the next tray, just to see how they spread. Then I'll know how to make them. If I want to make them a bit smaller, this way I'm not really going to get more than probably a dozen cookies. So I think for the next for the next batch, I might make them 1 tablespoonful, which is still maybe a 1.5, because there's 1.5, yeah. So this one is 2 tablespoons right there, and this little mound is 1.5. So that's a little bit of a smaller cookie, but I think you're going to get more out of it. You know, you'll get more cookies. So we'll do 1. I just want to bake these and see how they rise or spread or what they do. So we're going to do them a little bit closer together, or further apart than just like the recipe says. Usually you can get a dozen on a cookie sheet. You just do 4 rows of 3, but in this case I'm just going to hold off. Now we have to bake these for 14 minutes. I don't know, that's a lot, but because they're so big, it's possible. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in the oven, just this first tray, to see how big they get. I'm going to set my timer for 9 minutes and see how they come out in 9 minutes, because my oven has got the energy saver rack, and 9 minutes sometimes is the same as 10 or 12. And it says to frost these when they're done with confection or sugar preserves, and I'm gonna probably skip that step. I'm just gonna have them so I can put them right in my cookie jar. If you frost cookies, you can't put them in the cookie jar. They just stick together. They just have to stay in a plate. So I will get back to you in about 9 minutes, and we'll see what our angel pillows look like. Alrighty, and we're back. It was about 11 minutes, and that is our angel pillows. They do kind of look like little puffy pillows, and pink. You know, angels, you know, pretty and pink. The color will change with the type of preserves you use. I use raspberry, so if you use apricot or pineapple, they'll be yellow. If you use grape, obviously they'll be purple. So whatever you want. They're a very, very soft cookie. They're very, just look at how nice and just perfectly golden brown on the bottom. So they didn't, as you can see, they did not spread. They rose up a little bit, but they did not spread. I could have gone ahead and put the dozen on here. For the other ones that I have in the oven now, I have 1.5. I made them half the size of this, just so, excuse me, just so we can get a few extra cookies out of the deal. So that's what we're having. We're having chicken stew. I added the potatoes while I was on our break. So in the pot, in the pan over on the stove, we have chicken legs, which I'm going to take out and cut the meat off. It's just like, if you go back in my videos on the homemade chicken soup, or I think I did pot pie. If I didn't, I will. But it's just like making a pot pie. You cook the chicken, potatoes, carrots, celery, everything in there, and then you thicken the broth and add it. I'm not making pot pie. I'm just going to thicken it and make it like a nice stew. It's a little on the chilly side today, so a nice comfy warm bowl of soup for supper is what's going to happen. So we'll have chicken stew for supper, angel pillow cookies with a nice bowl of ice cream for dessert. And that is all for today. Make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment, ring the bell so you know when I'm in the kitchen again, and please leave me a comment on what you'd like me to make, or if you've tried any of my recipes, how they came out for you, and enjoy. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.